My name's Robert Chapman. I'm a painter and a sculptor. And that was 10 years old when I received my first oil painting set and went at it full blast from that point on. The main mentor that I had early on in my career would have to be Conrad Fried. He was an individual that I greatly admired, along with some of my other younger artist friends. He was Willem de Kooning's brother. He grew up surrounded by de Kooning and Gorky and all these other personalities that would influence anybody at an early age in New York and that whole scene, both through the way he pursued his own work, his intelligence, but he was also quite a character on top of everything else. He set the tone, I think, for the rest of us as far as how we could pursue an art career and still be an individual at the same time. Well, it's hard not to be influenced by Bill. I mean, he's probably, at least to me, represents the pinnacle of an artist and his accomplishments. He also represented a grandfather type of individual, somebody that I became very close to and attached to and, felt responsible for. You had to know how to interpret his responses. I was able to gain the coveted cat's meow more than once on a situation where he was looking at one of my paintings, which to me meant a lot. Fortunately, when I started working there, I was already pretty much on my way, and I had a lot of ideas of my own. As an apprenticeship, a lot of people think of it as starting from scratch, and for me that wasn't really the case. There was a sort of an osmosis that happened that was bound to affect your work and the way you go about it. In fact, that Willem de Kooning once told the other main artist assistant, Tom Ferrara, that was also a painter, and myself, that working for Bill for the amount of time that we did was basically the equivalent of a doctorate in painting, if you could get such a thing. Living and working in the Hamptons, for me at least, and also for my wife, it represented the best of both worlds. Living in the country and also being surrounded by, a very well-established cultural, sophisticated element in the society. And for us, it answered all our needs, basically. It was a very important time period for both of us, and one that influenced me then, and it still has residual effects now. So, my wife and I never really imagined that we would end up in the central coast of California, which happens to be an extremely beautiful area. Living in the Hamptons for all those years in the country and surrounded by natural beauty, and then now living in Paso Robles and surrounded by natural beauty is my main essence, I guess. It needs to be there, and if it's not, then I feel like a big part of my life is missing, and it affects the work. The work takes weeks to do generally, but the processes involved are usually quick decisions and responsive from one area to the next. Now, as far as names are concerned, I usually don't arrive at something like that until the painting's finished. I don't like to be distracted by interpretation of the image. While I'm working on it, I just work mainly from a compositional standpoint, and all that's intuitive during the course of the painting, and it's all pretty fast moving. Zulu and Riding the Super Chief. They both contain a similar type of movement in the picture plane. Most of that's established through the use of line and directional line. As far as the movement of the piece and the velocity of the line, Zulu would probably come out in front in that respect because it's a little bit more bravura. The brushwork is much more pronounced. It's a little bit more velocity that seems to be apparent in the surface on Zulu, hence the name. Riding the Super Chief, that seems to be a little more sedate, but once again, it contains quite a bit of movement. My great uncle was one of the heads of the Pullman Railroad Car Company. I have fond memories of speeding through the Southwest, looking out of a Pullman car window and watching that beautiful terrain go by. And watching that beautiful big Indian face coming into the train station in Los Angeles. I mean, it was, for a small boy, it had all the mystery that was ever needed. I feel good about this body of work. It represents a culmination of a lot of ideas that I've had over the years and throughout my career that were sort of the high points of different directions that I explored. And in this body of work, they seem to have gelled into it in a way that brings more meaning to some of the disjointed aspects of some of the earlier work. It seems more progressive. I mean, it seems to be, to me at least, it looks like it's more in the here and now. I've never really drawn a distinction between something other than art and the art itself, as far as my life goes and how it's going to proceed from here. One piece leads to another, and there's always a process involved. It's like an unbroken chain. I try to stay in the moment, always looking for something new to appear on the surface of a painting or whatever I'm working on to suggest possibilities, but I like to use the work itself as my main teacher and not look to the external. All these images are already contained inside of my head, and it's only a matter of sorting through what's already there. But in order to do that, I have to bring them to life, and the only way that happens is to actually do it, and that's the future.